You are now listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc, sharing insights through real, honest, and practical ways to improve your communication and relationships. Featuring your hosts, Dr. Pamela Kreiser, Meredith Edwards Nagel, and Teighlor Polendo.
Okay, so I got to tell y'all a story that happened one holiday.
Okay.
I was given my assignment to bring to the holiday dinner, the family dinner. My assignment was unusual because normally I would make something that we would eat year over year. We have very specific things we do for something like Thanksgiving or Christmas. So I get this green bean dish, which is different than I normally make. It's roasted green beans with lemon and shallots. And everyone else on the text assigned normal things. Okay, so I'm like, that's kind of weird. We follow up with this family member and we say, so what's the deal with the green beans? And they said, well, you can't bring the traditional green bean casserole because no one likes it. And I said, okay. I said, okay, who's no one? And it turns out it's just 2 people out of 20 people. So I said, maybe I'll just bring both. I know the portions. It's mostly people do like it. And then there's a small amount that don't like it, right?
Sure.
So I do that. As soon as we walk in and put all the food down, there's a family member that says, did nobody make the traditional green bean casserole? And I got my confirmation. Oh, no problem. It's right here.
Yeah.
So then I sit down to eat dinner and I kind of forget about it. And we're having a nice conversation and it's all great. And then I look over and the family member that said no one likes it is eating a whole pile of it.
I love that for you.
That's family, folks. Right there. No one likes it. You put yourself in the group that didn't like it. And then now I'm seeing you eat it across the table from me. Fascinating.
Teighlor, I just want to know what you're making for the holidays this year because you cook so not much.
I'd just like to say I've officially made 3 meals this year.
Stop.
And I will be cooking Christmas Eve dinner. So
Really?
mark your calendar. And 2,
I want a picture. I'll receive a picture, people listening. I'm going to get a photo.
there will be proof. For Thanksgiving, I went healthy. I made all the parts of apple pie that I like, but left out all the parts I don't like. I don't like warm fruit and I don't like crust. So I just did a deconstructed apple pie of apples, cinnamon, maple syrup, and nutmeg. And we chopped it all up, put it in the fridge. And then I made homemade whipping cream with maple syrup. And it was delicious. It was so good. So I was
Cold,
happy with
crunchy
it.
apples with whipped cream. What child doesn't love that?
It was great. And there's so much maple syrup. There was a ton of sugar, so I don't even hear it. It was really good.
I'm really glad we're about to have this conversation because I may be hosting my first Christmas dinner with extended people in my house.
Do you do like the
how many
fancy dinner?
I think it's like 16. I don't know about fancy.
Like
I
a
don't say
sit-down
that.
meal. Like it's
Yes, you want to make it nice. This isn't like 100% decided, so I'm glad we're about to have this conversation. The theme of today's convo is that we have this false expectation that holidays are supposed to be this always forever warm and fuzzy time. But I think there's some honesty behind that, which is that sometimes it can be this feeling of emotional dodgeball. I think that can look different as host or guest or what that might feel like for you and where you're at during the holidays. So we looked up what are the big topics in the Western society right now: politics, religion, this whole laundry list of things that you might hear and go, oh, and I'm nervous for that topic to come up or to bring it up myself. And that could be anything from life stages. Are you going to try for that boy? Are you going to try for that girl? Or maybe someone's making comments on weight, compliment or not, just physical appearance comments or dietary differences even. The whole thing is that we get that feeling and you might want to deflect or avoid, or maybe you want to dive in, but then it goes south really fast, which is definitely me in my 20s. So
It can
Yes.
go south. I don't think we want to say it always goes south. But.
No, you're right. I don't think it always, I just know I was the dive in my early 20s and then watched it crumble. And I don't want to do that anymore. For me, is like, how are we going to build these emotional boundaries enough so that we can recognize, oh, my body is flooding. This is happening. And how to notice when is there a proper time or place even to step back and look at a bigger picture of a holiday time. And so how we're handling these conversations really matters. And a big one in my experience is it matters for my young kids watching how I deal with difference. And that can also matter for new partners, which we have had recent podcast episodes on. If you're bringing a new partner to meet family for the first time, how is difference dealt with? It matters for adult children and parent relationships. And then honestly, at the heart of it, it really just matters for our own peace of mind. And I think the most necessary conversations are ones that can really teach us the most about how to connect, how to have courage in those moments, and how to hold healthy boundaries. Before we dive into these examples and different ways of processing through hard conversations at the holidays, I think the big thing to let people know listening is that we're not talking about these topics themselves. We're just wanting to know how to navigate through hard conversations that you may, or if you're lucky, may not have to deal with at the dinner table.
Mm-hmm. I had a thought about the list of ideas that could be potential flare-ups at a dinner table. And I think there's some topics that are internal to us and some that are external. So I look at politics and some of that and say that's kind of external to me. Not that it doesn't affect me, but it's not commentary about me.
Sure.
Okay.
But if you talk about, oh, when am I going to try for that boy or girl? Or when am I going to get married? That's pretty internal. So I could see that getting more personal. It might be good to differentiate that. That these topics don't necessarily have to all become personal.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I think you could differentiate the types of topics and say, how much do I want to get all emotionally entangled in this? Do I need to do that?
Yeah.
On something like politics, for example, I might say, I don't need to do that here.
Things like politics, religion.
Where do you put your identity? If you wrap your identity in those things, then you have to defend them if they come up.
Well, that's
but
what I
if
was
you
saying.
have a little separation,
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm thinking, how do I show my kids you can have big difference and still have healthy relationship or healthy dialogue? And
I think that's crucial in this world to teach children that.
Yeah.
We're not doing so well across the globe on that one.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Okay.
So let's talk about Rising Strong, one of the Brene Brown books that we've identified on this podcast. It is one of the best books about managing emotions, which she did more work after that book, but it's a great book for understanding that. Yeah, it's really good. So she talks about a 3-part process for managing conflict. And she says that you need to understand the reckoning, the rumble, and the revolution. We start with the reckoning, and that's noticing the emotional sensations that you have inside and being a curious emotional scientist.
I love that.
And say, what's going on with me right now? Because sometimes I think you and I will get into maybe that difficult conversation suddenly. We don't even see it coming, and we're in that conversation, and we don't stop and do the reckoning. We instead respond. And Teighlor,
are you laughing because you're guilty or because you have this experience at home?
Okay, I literally just had a big altercation and I didn't see it coming at all. And you'd think I'd never heard a podcast on how to communicate at all. It was the worst. I was like, wow, we've learned nothing.
wow. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to take some notes. Okay. So reckoning.
Okay. Before you respond, before you jump back, decide, conclude, all these things, what's going on with me right now. Too often we skip that step generally in communication. We're not curious. We, as Mark Brackett would say, we're emotional judgers, not emotional scientists. Remember, he says, and we've done this on previous podcasts, he says too often we decide this is good or bad and then respond out of that good or bad place when we really should be just saying, why is this upsetting me? Or why am I irritated? Or why am I frustrated? Or what am I feeling right now that is identifiable, and just being curious about that thing. Now, the second step she identifies is the rumble, right? And the rumble is to consider the story you're telling yourself, which is another favorite thing that we love Brene Brown for, and trying to say what is actually happening versus am I making something up? And you've heard us on this podcast talk about this concept before, that we don't want to go through life confirming the ideas that we previously held. Our job on this earth is not to go around and say, I knew it all along to everything we encounter. And so you want to think, am I making this up or do I have an actual conflict here?
Sorry to interrupt you, but that's like such a beautiful ending to the year that we talked about so much about being curious.
Yeah.
To not move through saying, I knew it all along, what you just said. But to have a genuine curiosity about yourself and your relationships.
So then you have the family member that maybe didn't say hi to you when you walked into the family party, and you could have previously decided they're standoffish, they're not nice. So now that they didn't say hi to me, I've concluded I was right about you all along. You haven't changed. You're trying to not see me, not acknowledge me. And you and I can dangerously fail to pick up new data even when we encounter these situations. If we believe so quickly that we're right about all things that we're perceiving and we don't stay curious, we miss actual contradictory data. Where that family member might have even waved when you walked in the door, but you didn't even pick that up because you have already concluded this family member doesn't like to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you miss that new data. That's a pretty dangerous place. So we have the reckoning, which is understanding the emotions or what's going on with me right now, the curiosity, the rumble, what's true here versus what am I making up? So really having fresh eyes to see the actual thing going on. Is this person lecturing me, or are they just saying their point of view? Be careful about deciding so much about other people. And then the third one is the revolution. So after you've reckoned and after you've rumbled, you choose how you want to show up. You choose, where do I want to stand on this matter or speak in this relationship, whatever it is, and I make my choice after that. Now, the interesting thing about that is what you're hearing in the reckoning, the rumble, and the revolution is these are all steps, not impulses. So often when we have a conflict and we're approached with something, a different idea or something we don't like, we tend as humans to be impulsive. But Brene's saying, hey, figure out what's going on inside of you. Figure out what's actually true. So I think about the first two as I'm going to be curious about me. How am I feeling? Then I'm going to be curious about you. Is this really happening or not? Not what I decided, just what's factual, what's actually going on. And then I'm going to make my intentional choice after that, which is the revolution.
Yeah.
So you think about family gatherings, and we're talking about this for the holidays. They come with a lot of history, a lot of expectations, a lot of past hurts. It's easy with alcohol and history and all these different things to just decide everyone's going to play their role and no one can break out of that role. They're all going to be just the same as I left them last year. And that I think is really a dangerous way to live.
Yeah.
I really love that the Rising Strong process helps us to slow down. I need that a lot in these seasons and these moments. Young kids, like you said, alcohol, stress of just gathering and all that. I feel like this process lets us slow down the whole cycle.
Yeah.
And not to repeat old ways of doing things.
I walked away with most from that book was believing the best in people, essentially. Believing that they're doing their best, whether or not it's true, especially in this season, the generous season, the giving season, maybe lean towards the generous side. And because when you say the revolution, choose what you want to do and how you want to show up. I want to show up and just dig my heels in. So maybe don't do that and lean into the generous side of the season and believe that maybe they didn't say hello because they had to run to the bathroom and pee really fast and they actually wanted to greet you.
I think if you believe that people are doing their best, you have a better shot at not being trapped in an old assumption.
Yeah. Well said.
You have a better shot.
Yeah. So
you don't have a very good shot if you believe they're just being the same as I left them. I know everything about how
they did it on purpose. They don't care about me. Like all the stories you've been telling yourself forever. That are generally negative.
The quick thing for me is, okay, what is this Rising Strong process doing? It's getting you to slow down. So notice your feelings, catch a story you might be making up in yourself, try to have some space for how to respond. Remember to stay connected, even when it's a hard conversation. I love that this is also a pathway to a holiday that doesn't have to implode. I love this example. This is my favorite one, which is, okay, you're having a reckoning moment. Your heart's racing. You're feeling irritated, maybe defensive. And you're thinking about your brother-in-law Joe's comments on politics, right?
Okay.
So the reckoning is, okay, I notice, like my heart's racing. I am feeling irritated. I want to be defensive, right? The rumble is to ask, okay, what's the story that I'm making up here? And is that my brother-in-law doesn't respect my view, or is that he thinks I'm ignorant? And I think I can go to that really quickly. Like, you think I don't know anything? There's that rumbling place. So the question to ask, is that story actually true? And then this is where you give, I think, a generous interpretation of someone to say, well, maybe he's just anxious about the world, and then he blurts things out. Maybe this isn't actually about me. The comment doesn't have to be about me. This questioning gives you some time to breathe, some space to slow down, and it's how you can keep from walking into a room already on the defense, which I think is something I hope people listen to, is try to stop walking into a room or hosting a room already with a defensive posture, because it's really hard to come out of that. I don't know why that makes me feel like emotional, but I think I have
it's true, though.
done that a lot with family. And it's just a constant repeat of cycling that I don't enjoy, that I have this guard up. It's like, I'm ready to defend that thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not about us, and I take it too personal, what you're saying. So, yeah. What do you guys think about that example?
I think it's a good example, but I like that you pivot from not just impulsively responding or saying something sarcastic or whatever. You examine it and say, what's going on for them? What's going on for me?
And I think I'm embarrassed to say that. That's part of my emotion, is like so embarrassing that I would go to being sarcastic in a moment like that with a brother-in-law, but that's not working.
I liked when you said breathing room. Making an intentional choice gives you some breathing room and saying, I don't have to take it personally. I don't have to make a thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that is a lost art, being able to hold space for somebody else having as convinced a point of view as I do, but on the other side of something.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
I was doing a panel discussion yesterday regarding conflict resolution, and there was a mediator on the panel, and this panelist said that one of the most important things she's learned in being a mediator is that you can have truly two perspectives that are completely different based on the same situation. And it's easy for us to say one's right, one's wrong.
Well, I think we want to do that as people. We need to categorize, and the things need to make sense.
Yeah.
And that's a very gray thing to live in, and to not need to defend or push one way or another.
But I think just the idea that I can have my point of view and you can have yours, and it doesn't have to be me versus you.
Yes.
Being comfortable that there are other points of view in the room.
Yes.
Because sometimes I think people try to go through and stamp out all the other points of view. And I just don't know if that's always the thing we need to do on a holiday situation.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about honest difference. And I think that the big word for me this year is to have that curiosity before you start making this emotional story, right? And then that takes over for you. So you can have a much more grounded and compassionate and less likely to escalate moment in your holiday conversations. So I also want to talk about Brene Brown's Braving the Wilderness, her book. This book centers on true belonging, and that you need to belong to yourself first, and basically how that alignment helps you stay connected to others even when you have disagreement. So the framework for this is strong back, soft front, wild heart. So we just went rising strong was reckoning, rumble, revolution. Braving the wilderness is strong back, soft front, wild heart, right? So the emphasis is on belonging, vulnerability, and standing your ground without dehumanizing other people, which I think is a big word, but I also think in light of earlier the type of topics that could come up, it's important that you remember that. The big how and why each of these pieces matters in this book can be broken up like this. Strong back means having a spine, standing tall, the courage to stand in what your truth is without shrinking, without people pleasing, and also without bulldozing.
Mm-hmm. That's
so
really
you're
good.
choosing to stay grounded in your values without attacking someone else. That's a hard thing to do. I think both of those things at the same
I
time.
agree.
The soft front of it is choosing curiosity, right? That this has to be genuine curiosity. Instead of sarcasm, judgment, or shutting down, try to lean in with compassion. That's your soft front. And then the wild heart, which my hippiness loves, is being authentic to yourself, even if it feels like you're on an island, if you will, even if feels like you're standing alone. And to remember that you do still belong. You belong at that table. You belong with your family, with yourself, right? You don't need to perform. You don't need to shrink, and you don't need to change your views just to keep peace. And I think all of those combined are really hard. Have a spine, but don't bulldoze, but be soft and curious, but also know that you belong there. You don't have to change to keep peace. It feels very difficult for me, this one. I just want to go in with an example because I think that helps me see it visually.
Okay.
So an example for this would be how to have a strong back in that moment.
Okay.
Someone comments on maybe how I'm disciplining or what I'm doing different, right? And to say, we're choosing to parent in a way that works best for our kid in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And no other over-explaining. I've struggled with that.
Firm on your parenting stance or your...
Yes. Yeah, I'm parenting in this way because this works best for my child. And that moment. But then the soft front with that is, I know you're saying this because you care about my family, and that means a lot. Another way of saying a soft front would say, hey, I know things are handled differently when we were growing up, so I get it might be a little unfamiliar, and that's okay. And that one makes me nervous. I feel like I could say that real sassy. I think be careful with that. And then the wild heart in that example would just to say, I know we're doing our best, even when it looks different. And that especially is like, because I've had multiple experiences like this about parenting young kids. It may be just doing things differently with young kids, how I'm disciplining, something I'm feeding them, or how I'm doing timeout or not, or whatever that might be, to say, hey, I'm doing this and this works best for my kid.
Yeah.
And I know you care. Thank you. But this is the best, even if it's different to you.
That's a tricky one, I think. I think that's harder than other topics because I find as a mother, there's some critique in there of the mothering.
Yeah, I struggle with how to do it without a tone or taking it personally or just going, this is what I'm doing without sounding bitchy.
No, but I think that is a difficult place that we could find ourselves in where maybe in the holidays you're exposed to family members longer than you might normally be. And then they start chipping in with their evaluation of your parenting. And you're the expert as the mother, in my opinion, or father, but you're the expert because you spend the time with the child, right?
Is there a way we can do Braving the Wilderness in the way you told us how to do it when someone tries to parent your kid?
Well, I think if you're resolved with how you're managing the children, I think that is your strong back. And then soft front means I don't think you're bulldozing anybody. You're not doing anything that's judging or sarcastic. You think the best of the people that are maybe making these comments. But in the end, you have to decide that wild heart piece, which is how am I going to do it? So you might recall this many years ago. Our kids were told they didn't need to wear shoes going outside on a hot pavement. And I was saying, put on your shoes. And another parental figure was saying, you don't need shoes. You're fine. And what did I say? I said, right now, kids, you're hearing this other person speak and you're hearing me speak. You need to focus on what mommy is telling you and do what mommy is telling you, not what this other person is telling you. I was not combative. I was not rude. This other person did not like this. But we're talking about 3, 5, and 7-year-olds going out on hot pavement. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
And they were going to go play ball, and you have to have shoes on. There's no way. It's way too hot out there. And I was convinced about it, but just helping them, I think that's the tricky piece, is navigating where you have to be fair, confusion on the point of the children. They're like, oh, we have to do shoes. We don't. We do. We don't. Mm-hmm. And helping them understand that. Probably there's a little edginess to that comes across, which is why the other person was mad, which I said, right now you're hearing two people speak and you need to focus on what mommy is telling you only.
Yeah.
And disregard the other speaker.
Do you think we could do another example using Braving the Wilderness? I was even thinking of one that I actually received already around a holiday time, was comments on physical appearance.
Oh, great.
And I felt myself kind of laughing it off, but I was like, damn it, I want to know how to respond like this. Yeah. I don't want to laugh this off. I want to be curious, but I chose laughing it off for me because I knew I was going to be just real sassy, and this is not the time or place. Like,
wait, okay, like so someone said something rude to you about your appearance.
I think it can be compliment or not. I think the example for me in my mind is someone can say something about your physical appearance, whether it's like, oh, have you lost weight? And they think that's a compliment. I think I gave the example before. I had an uncle say to me 13 days after giving birth that it was nice to see me almost fitting in my regular clothes again. And this wasn't during the holidays, but just like to say, how the F do I have a strong back, soft front, and wild heart in comments like that?
Yeah.
Or even if I'm trying to have a generous interpretation about someone and say, they're trying to say that I look nice because I lost weight, but also
Oh, you really
like,
care about my
that's-
health. Thank you. Bless your heart.
Yeah, bless you. Yeah, I wanted to go to bless your heart, and I just went, yeah. Like, giving the bird is not an option at the dinner table.
Well, but sometimes I'll think this with family members that have been in the family a long time, and I'll think it's too bad that you're not more skilled and don't have a better way of saying that compliment to me.
Yeah. My
Like
husband tried to tell me
it
that.
came
Like,
out that way.
My husband was like, I don't agree with it. And he's like, they don't have the language to say something in a way that's actually sounds nice. So they go with, oh, you look like you lost weight. You're like, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have a different example.
Okay.
So I have adult children who are not married and not in long-term relationships. And so pretty much every family gathering, they get hit with, are you dating anyone? Boy, a lot of other people are married.
Ooh.
No, it gets edgy.
Yeah.
Are you dating anyone is a personal question. But embedded in that, if you get it every holiday, is you should have someone by now. And that is not a fair question. But I find that sometimes when people ask that question, the middle part, that soft front, is they don't know how to ask it another way. I have the same thing that happens with my college seniors who say to me, I don't want to go to my own grad party. And I'll say, why? And they'll say, because all my aunts and uncles are going to say, what are you doing with the rest of your life? And they don't want to hear that because it's a big question. And so I'll coach them through that, but I'll say they're trying to say something at a party. They don't necessarily know what to say. So they think that's a good grad party question. But my seniors don't like that because they're like, 25 people are going to ask me this. And I don't want to answer that.
Do you want to do these 3 points, the strong back, soft front, wild heart, with the example of you're an adult, people are asking about your dating life around the holidays? What does that look like, you think?
I think the strong back is that you've decided that maybe you want to be single, or you've decided that you want to be in a relationship when the time is right. That's your strong back. And then your soft front is this person saying, are you dating anyone? Are you in a big relationship? They're saying this because they care about me and they want to see me happy. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that's the soft front. But I also think the wild heart is I'm going to do it on my timing. And just because you ask me doesn't mean that I go and get into a relationship that's not the right one for me.
Yeah. So the wild heart part is that it's unapologetic and gentle at the same time. And gentle doesn't mean it's not strong, which I think gets confused.
Yes, I think that's a good point.
I like that this part of the Braving the Wilderness is that the sense of belonging is the courage to be you, unedited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that wild heart piece, for me, it's a protection of yourself from losing sight of your own values, or like trying to contort yourself to fit something so that things are just at peace. So you have this sense of maybe freedom to be kind of wild and real in a sense, but also be connected and have a sense of belonging, even if you have a difference of opinion or value than someone else across the table from you.
That's right.
Well, and so a big part of that is understanding that you belong not because you're the same as everyone else, is not dependent on those things. Because a lot of people feel like black sheep. So I'm so different than all my family. So then they feel like they don't belong. But that's what I'm hearing with the wild heart is I may be different, but this space is for me.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that's great. Do we want to touch on this article from Psychology Today called Navigating Difficult People and Opinions During the Holidays, which was interesting. I don't want to butcher his name. Chandra, I believe, right? He's a psychiatrist, writer, and educator in San Francisco. And I love that the process through this essentially is how to navigate these things during the holidays, right? Anticipate was the first one, which I thought was interesting. Anticipate what are going to be the problems. Prepare the best you can, which we've talked about so many other times in this podcast too.
That's when we talk about just lower those expectations a little bit. Like, everyone's going to have maybe had a few drinks, or it's people that we already know are different. Just we're anticipating. I don't love the anticipating problems idea.
I think more, but I think for me, the process I read was that is anticipating what the problems are going to bring up inside you.
Yeah. And maybe just lower those expectations.
I totally agree.
I'm wrestling with that, but I get it. I appreciate it. I know lower the expectations.
Well, I think it comes full circle when we get down to number 3. But sorry, go
Walk
ahead.
us through it, Teighlor.
Okay, so but we got to talk about that dinner that you're going to be hosting.
Oh, yeah.
So is it
I know,
better?
so-
Hold on.
Okay.
Is it better to think everything's going to go perfect, and then if something doesn't, then you didn't meet the expectation?
No.
Or to go into the dinner and say, there's going to be some flaws in this dinner, and when it has very few flaws, then you're happy.
No, I like that. I like that. I like that
Right?
better.
Because I think sometimes, especially with the holidays, it's a huge problem, the expectations we set. It will be the perfect Christmas. It will be the magical Thanksgiving. We're going to just have it be the best Christmas ever. People post that shit. Best Christmas ever. Why in the world would we be ramping up the expectations so high?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I guess it depends what you're looking to do. Maybe you're looking to propose that year. Maybe you're looking to your kid's first experience of Christmas or the magic of whatever it is, or
All too
or whatever.
high.
I actually feel my husband will laugh because I listen to this. I think he puts that pressure on himself that he's going to do it for the kids. Anyway, Teighlor, touch on the process of the of
so
this
you're
for us.
anticipating maybe a few problems. But I think, Meredith, what you're saying is don't doomsday it. Oh, it's just going to be the worst. Okay, so some balance there.
That's good.
Observe and respond. So you're not just going to instantly react, which is what we talked about earlier. Question what's going on for me, what's true for them, get some curiosity going. And then, as with any big event, stay focused on the big picture. Why are we getting together for the holidays? Is it to have a picture perfect? Because I think that is some people's reality. They want a picture perfect holiday.
Right.
That might be a little bit tough to pull off, but some people could do it.
For
me, fun.
Can I interject that exact thing what you're saying? And I don't mean to generalize or stereotype moms, especially maybe moms that have older kids out of the house. But what I have felt is like this pressure that moms can put on themselves. Tell me if this is a bad observation, Dr. K.
No.
I'm going to make it this wonderful place for them to come back to and to be, and it'll all be peaceful and happy. And I have a friend who recently shared with me this, I will do all the things. You just have to come and enjoy. And then there was a alcohol-induced heated disagreement that happened. And the mom is left going, I thought I did everything to give everyone this feeling, and it didn't work.
But you can't control people's feelings.
True.
No matter how much effort, if someone wants to have a bad time, they will. And if someone wants to have a good time, they will.
But I think in that scenario you're talking about, you have that person saying their worth is tied up in the fact that people have an enjoyable experience. And I would challenge that assumption and say, your worth is that you set it up and did it. Good for you. How they take it, they do what they want with it.
And I don't want to miss Dr. Chandra's last point there on that process. So anticipate, observe, and respond. Stay focused on the big picture. And then I love the last thing, which I think is a good close to this whole process and the whole preparation of holidays, is to find ways to self-soothe, right?
And didn't we talk about this when you're spending a lot of time with the family? Go take a moment for yourself. Oh, when we're there for a week, I'm going to make sure and I go and do this thing for myself, or with just my immediate family. Like we talked about planning little rewards maybe for yourself.
Yeah.
I just love that in this article, he talks about basically how you can't paint yourself in this corner of only being happy when everyone is agreeing with you.
That's a good point.
And that was a light bulb moment for me. Okay, my happiness and my contentment for this season isn't dependent because everyone is agreeing and on the same page. I still belong if it's different.
Yeah.
And I took away from that article was that you can't be emotionally dependent on universal agreement. That I could not get that out of my head.
Because who could ever have that? Yeah.
But we want that, I think. Why this time of year? I don't know. In February, I can sit across from brother-in-law Joe and be like, gosh, we super disagree. It can be sort of heated, but constructive. And for some reason at Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever the holiday is you're celebrating, we're supposed to be together and happy and on the same page. This pressure.
That's just, expectations, societal expectations, or maybe created by the media as well and reinforced by all of us.
Reinforced by all of us. There's that too.
But okay, you're spending a lot of money and time into something, so it's worth going over your goals so that you're not left with disappointment. So when you're going to host that family event, what is your goal? Is it just for everyone to be together? I know for some people it literally is, can we just all get along? But maybe that's not realistic. Maybe it's to have fun. Maybe it's to just relax. What is your actual goal? And then what are the steps that you want to take to achieve that?
Are you trying to tell us your trading comfort for growth goal for the season right now? Is that what you're trying to do?
I'm coming in with fists ablazing this year.
Okay, well, I wanted to say mine. I
tell
want
me.
to end the year with a trading comfort for growth TC4G. Thank you, Dr. K lesson, which is I have a tendency to slap back sarcastically. I do. I know I do.
You're
And
just witty. And
sometimes
funny.
it's awesome. I'm not going to lie. I want to commit to an honest curiosity, especially with difference. The focus being on connection, right? And especially when we know that this holiday time is limited in space and time, and focus on that when I want to go to ruthless sarcasm and put Teighlor in my pocket.
But I like what Teighlor said. That's what I would conclude with here as we wrap up this season of podcast episodes. Is it winning this little argument or having this little moment, or is it the bigger math? What kind of relationships do I want? What do I want to model for my kids? How do I want this to go years from now? And I think sometimes we get lost in the detail of the Christmas dinner or whatever it is and lose what that big math is. And I think that's the focus for me, is to say, have the larger, more important goals in mind and act on those versus being right today in the argument or whatever.
That makes me want to focus my energy during the season on those relationships that matter most to me.
Yeah.
I'm going with, I just want to have fun and relax. So I'm going to not be so on my kids. I literally think I'm going to loosen the reins, which is weird for me. And
that's a big deal.
I just want to have fun. I'm tired of the fight. So
I want a picture of another meal you make to end the year.
I'm making Christmas Eve.
And I will commit to just a calm, happy, no expectation hosting experience. I'm so nervous. Okay.
All right. So as we wrap up this episode and our 2025 season, we want to thank all of you for listening in and supporting Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Genuinely. Honestly, it's just mind-blowing. Wow. Thank you, all the people.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you.
Once again, thank you for joining us today. Please remember to rate, share, and subscribe to our podcast. And thank you for listening to Asking for a Friend.
Let us know what you thought of the episode. Our email is hello@afafpodcast.com. This show is for educational purposes only and is copyrighted. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. Thanks for listening to Asking for a Friend with TalkDoc.